Americans love our sports, but despite that, soccer is barely a blip on the radar of the average American sports fan. My name is Daryl Burns, and in this presentation, I will be exploring perceptions many Americans have about soccer and offer counterpoints to those perceptions. Finally, I'll present evidence showing that American perceptions of soccer are changing. Let's begin. Soccer is a game loved all over the world. The Brazilians call it the beautiful game. Part of its beauty lies in its simplicity. On the surface, the rules are basic. Get the ball into the net without using your hands. The team with the most goals scored at the end of the game wins. It doesn't require any fancy equipment. All you need is something to act as a ball and a little bit of open space. Soccer is a universal game accessible to all people. Soccer has origins that date back to ancient China. In the 2nd and 3rd century BC, the Chinese organized a game known as Qiu. In Chinese, the word Qiu means kicking the ball with feet, and Jiu means a stuffed ball made of hide. The object of the game was to get the ball through the goalpost without letting it touch the ground. Players were not allowed to use their hands. The team with the most points at the end of the game won the match. Modern soccer has its origins in what was called association football around the mid-19th century. A form of what we know today as soccer was brought over by British colonists to the New World. Although soccer has been played in America since the colonies were settled, it has failed to achieve the amount of popularity it enjoys in the rest of the world. Let's explore some perceptions commonly held by Americans that affect soccer's popularity to this day. There's not enough scoring. This is one of the most common things you'll hear from the average American sports fan. From television commentators to the local sports section, it's a widespread complaint. Americans tend to like high-scoring affairs. Basketball is a good example of this. Final scores typically range from the mid-80s to the low 100s. Games with scores lower than that tend to be referred to as hard to watch or bad basketball. Football is the same way. We like to see touchdowns, the more the better. The term defensive struggle is used to refer to low-scoring games. It's a foreigner's game. It is believed that the three major American sports, football, baseball, and basketball, were all invented in the United States. The factuality of this is questionable, but that is a common perception. Perhaps soccer is perceived as a foreigner's game because it has such a large fan following and huge popularity in practically every country except the US. Americans haven't won anything. Americans like winners. Perhaps America has not taken to soccer because the American team, specifically the men's team, has not won a major competition on the world stage. Recently, the US surprised the world by making it to the final of the Confederations Cup. After a promising but unsuccessful showing in the final against Brazil, the story was quickly dropped and the team forgotten. This is a typical turn of events as far as the US team, the media, and public perception goes. Now let's talk about some counterpoints to these perceptions. In soccer, scoring is not the only major drawing point. Fans enjoy the athleticism, strategy, and nuances inherent to the game almost as much as the end result or final score. Most soccer fans, myself included, enjoy the game as a whole. Seeing an attacking player dribble through 3 defenders before passing to a teammate streaking down the sideline is exciting in and of itself, even if the end result isn't a goal. Soccer fans can often be seen cheering individual passes in succession between teammates. On the surface, this may seem silly, but in the context of the game, the ability to control possession of the ball is a key strategy to any team's success. According to Mark Salisbury in Soccer News, the first recorded soccer club formed in the U.S. was the Oneida Football Club, which played on the Boston Common from 1862 to 1865. This predates the formation of the English Football Association in 1863. Soccer is no more foreign than any of the other popular American sports. For example, baseball, America's favorite pastime, developed as a modification of the British game rounders. American football is an adaptation of English rugby. Basketball, it was developed by Dr. James Naismith, a Canadian. The U.S. women's team has consistently placed in the top 3 during the Women's World Cup finals over the past 18 years. In 2006, the U.S. men's team ranked as high as number 4 in the world. They are currently ranked at number 12 in the world and are looking forward to a strong showing in the 2010 World Cup finals. Even though American arguments against soccer are still pervasive, attitudes are changing. Viewership for the World Cup in the United States has steadily increased since being hosted here in 1994. Between the 2002 and 2006 World Cup finals, the viewing audience increased 38.9% in the U.S. This trend is expected to continue as excitement builds towards the highly anticipated 2010 finals. Millions of children and adults participate in soccer leagues in the U.S. every year, and those numbers are increasing. So don't believe the hype. Soccer is here to stay.
How many times has the women's soccer team won the World Cup?
They've won on 2 occasions, 1991 and 1999.
Has the U.S. ever hosted a World Cup?
Yes, they've hosted on 3 occasions. The men hosted in 1994, and the women hosted in 1999 and 2003.
Why do you think the women's team has been so successful on the world stage where the men seem to struggle at times?
Women's sports in the U.S. are better funded than they are in many parts of the world. Because of this, our women are better trained, have better equipment, and are better funded than a lot of women elsewhere. That support, combined with their talent, provides a powerful advantage against the rest of the world. On the flip side, our men are just as talented, just as well trained, and have just as good of equipment as our women's team does, but so does every other national men's team in the world. We're shortening the talent gap every year, but I think that support on the other team's part is tipping the scale in their favor for right now.